No digital product or service can be built without users' feedback. We need to know what kind of features can be used by particular types of users in order to know what will be needed and what will gain popularity among different kinds of audiences. We need to take into consideration their tech savviness, their age, their cultural background, their education, and thousands of different factors. Today, we will be discussing this topic with Oskar Czubacki and Hanna Klich. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Merixstudio series. It's time to talk. Hello, guys. How you doing?
Hello, everyone.
Hi, we're good.
All right, then. As seasoned product designers, you could share some fundamental principles with me about gathering users' feedback. What is the most important here? What kind of factors we need to take into consideration? How we should prepare for this process?
So maybe I can start this one. Well, if you are talking about fundamental principles in user research, first, I think you need to define your clear goals. Your clear goal. So you need to know what you want to learn from the test. Clear goals definitely help in designing the test and also in interpreting the results. And also, if we're talking about user research, it's obvious that we also need to recruit the right participants. So you need to ensure that your participants represents your target audience. So this makes the feedback more relevant and more, let's say, actionable.
Yeah, I think also it depends on the type of testing you're doing. So, for example, for moderated testing, where you have the researcher present with the users, you have to focus on the users. So don't create a so-called researcher effect. Don't try to lead them or
What
influence.
is researcher effect?
So it's an effect where the candidate or the user kind of responds to please you. So what they do is just to make you feel satisfied as the researcher, and it can happen when you are maybe making yourself too much of a star during the process. So you really should be attentive to what they are doing, but try not to hover too much over their process. Remind them to think aloud. Obviously follow on their like hesitation moments. So if they do those aha or oh, try to gather more insight on this, but don't try to be the star yourself. Like their feedback matters more than like you being too confident or overly confident. It can be also discouraging to the participants if you are too loud. Maybe some of them may feel discouraged, and definitely this will be damaging to the results.
Okay, then thank you for this. And what is crucial when, for example, selecting the participants? What kind of factors we should take into consideration while, for example, choosing the right group of people?
I think it's our favorite answer. It depends. So the demographics, I would say, would always be different and depend on your type of projects and on the objectives that you have. So you can't really say they will be the same like age group or target audience each time. That would be very individual and tailored to the business objective, for example. But I think it's important to make this cast of users diverse and also diverse from yourself, because only then you'll get unbiased kind of opinions. Otherwise, you'll kind of just you'll have this confirmation bias that the same group of people that's very similar to you will confirm your assumptions. So just be mindful of that.
Yeah. Also, if we're talking about factors of the target audience, it's also, for example, tech savviness. That's also important. For example, in terms of just conducting the user research, because maybe with the people that are, let's say, less tech savvy, then you need to prepare yourself to explain some things more detailed or in more, let's say, easier way. for them.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and it's useful to have, a proper sample of these users. Typically 6 to 8 people will give you some results already. So some patterns will be emerging in their behavior. But there are recommendations even that you test with 15. So 3 sessions with 5 users. That's a recommendation that some time ago Jakob Nielsen made, may lead to more cost-effective, changes. Just because you can conduct free research session with more participants, really. So it can be giving you better results in the end.
So, ladies and gentlemen, dear stakeholders, people who want to build a product or service, please keep in mind 8, maybe a minimum. In many cases, group of 15 people should give us some answers. What is needed and what is not needed. Yes, very often as Merix, we are working with different groups of people, with facility managers, with warehouse managers, with electricians, with people who are responsible for maintaining conveyor belts in manufacturing, on manufacturing sites. Yes, these people have different backgrounds. Those people have different knowledge, and it's extremely important to get to know what is needed and how do they understand what they see when they're interacting with a product. Okay, then, for a while, we are working with a software which is called Maze. And I'm wondering how much amazing this Maze is. And if you could tell me a little bit more, what is, first of all, the benefit from using it? And what is the difference between, let's say, doing traditional tests and tests doing Maze?
If we're talking about the Maze, let's say one of the biggest advantage of Maze is that you can run unmoderated tests. And also you still can get a lot of feedback and a lot of analysis from this unmoderated tests, based on the features which Maze offer, like heat maps, like test recordings, and others. So that's the using Maze for your test, for your research, for user research, allows you to access, let's say, more diverse and a group of participants without, for example, geographical constraints, for example, right?
Okay.
So you can easily run remote testing at any time, reducing also the time needed for scheduling meetings with moderated tests and so on.
Yeah, testing outside your time zone, that definitely can be streamlined with Maze. But I think also just creating the tasks, it comes with a lot of modules. As Oskar said, you can test heat maps and other elements, but even building the scenario for the task, it's almost like putting Lego together. So it's quite fast, and you can do it in a couple of minutes even, or change let's say the order of tasks that you schedule for the participants. So in that way, it's easier to build than or redoing the scenarios every time.
That's correct.
One more feature I think is great also is aggregated results. So you have them. Obviously, everyone has AI now. There is some AI features there, but even on this very basic algorithmic level, it gives a good aggregate of the data. So you have almost like an overview of what has happened even before diving into the recordings, and that's really nice.
Yeah, and one more thing that is also important if we're talking about Maze is that the possibilities of Maze integration with other tools. Tools like Figma or Adobe, you can easily integrate for example, prototype from Figma directly into Maze, and all the research magic is happening inside Maze. You don't have to go outside and run, for example, Figma prototype or whatever. Everything is in one place. Heat maps are based on your prototype, so that's great.
All right, then. You mentioned something about different time zones. Does it mean that you can perform these tests asynchronously?
Yeah, for unmoderated testing, you just share a link and you can share it to whoever you like, right? So if we are in Poland and we are running a test in Japan, that's still fine. The candidates can do it at their convenient time. We don't have to be present for an unmoderated test, but the recording will be available. And we can also share the same link to the session to actual stakeholders in Japan. So, you know, you will have an option to view wherever you're from.
Okay, I think this is very convenient given the fact that when we are talking with our clients about the necessity of performing tests, they usually have a problem with gathering a representative group at the same time or similar, let's say, in time slot. Yeah. And it sounds like a major convenience to be in a situation when the stakeholder can, for example, ask, I don't know, their employees or their clients, and this can be done, let's say, in a distance of 2 or 3 weeks with different people. I think this is a great benefit. Okay, then. Maze software offers advanced analytics and insights into user behavior. Can you share some examples of particular, let's say, activities that you discover using this tool?
Testing which does not really require prototypes. You can test information architecture, for example. I did that when we were redesigning our own Merix page. So we've had people card sort, so do an activity where they associate categories between and cards of service names to different categories. And in that way, we try to see what's the level of understanding of those services. So that helped to define the order of items on the page. It helped to define the navigation menu, and that led to also to the changes that as simple as copy changes, because some labels were just not very distinguishable and are not being understood well by the participants. So even without building like a full-blown prototype, you can use the building blocks of Maze to conduct your testing on an even smaller scale.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah, and I also had a chance to test some time ago one of the prototype of the product that I was responsible for the design, and yeah, especially in the report from testing, I was focused on the heat map and video recordings, and thanks to that, I was able to, for example, identify the place where user, for example, tried to click on element, but it was never clickable. So yeah, I was able to identify the places or elements in the interface that are maybe are not designed properly or are not intuitive as I thought they could be. So yeah, that's really helpful in terms of analyzing and adjusting your designs and add some improvements to your designs.
It's a great way to kind of test your thinking in practice. If you are stuck with a solution, if you are not sure, everyone will understand it. Or sometimes if you're overly sure, everyone knows what's happening. A test, it can help, uncover any problems without even building the code. So just do it early.
Okay. Thank you for this. And what about the integrations? You mentioned something about Figma, but what other integrations are available and how does the integration with Figma actually work like?
Well, so especially I had a chance to, in most of the cases, use Figma integration just because I was testing the prototypes. And well, in fact, it works quite well. I mean, the Figma integration works quite smooth and it's quite intuitive, let's say, to implement your prototype directly into Maze. However, I had last time when I was preparing the Maze test for user research for prototype testing, I had let's say some problems with this integration, because I was creating prototype right after the latest Figma releases about advanced prototyping and variables. And one thing that I didn't notice that time was that Maze does not support variables and advanced prototyping features. So if you want to, for example, in Figma prototype, if you want to avoid those, a lot of connections between frames and create, let's say your prototype in more advanced way, in more clear way, without all of those connections using variables, for example, it won't work with Maze, just because Maze is not able to identify the changes on the one frame. So when you are building the prototype for Maze, it's totally better. It's definitely better to build them frame by frame, step by step, instead of using, for example, variables. As a result, after this testing, I get honestly nothing. I mean, I had only one recording with one frame, and nothing was happened during all time of the of the user tests. So yeah, you need to take care of that when you will be creating the prototype for your Maze testing.
Yeah, so now you have a heads up what to do, right? But I think the integrations, they may progress. Figma is like moving on a fast speed, and they are making those adjustments really, really quickly to our workflow as designers. So I think the other software just needs to catch up at some point. And I think that will make everyone's life easier in this regard. But there are still some good features. You can also have like a Slack integration, and that notifies you when someone is filling out the test and a result is ready. So that helps too if you're looking very curious about the results. So yeah, I think a lot of companies are using Slack. We definitely use it as a communication channel. So that is something that can help improve your workflow too.
All right, then it sounds to me like what is that there is a thing that we could call a Figma-oriented working environment. Like, let's say a stakeholder is coming to us, and this person doesn't need to be necessarily, let's say, tech savvy, but we are able from almost day one to present, let's say, some prototyping work in order to verify some assumptions. Then we can integrate the Figma prototype that we are building, let's say, of a web application or mobile application with Maze in order to conduct the research with the potential groups of users, and very dynamically the same Figma can be used in order to gather feedback also from the stakeholder or stakeholders by leaving, for example, comments. And also, almost at the same time, it can be pointed to development team. Yeah, so the front end or mobile people who will be working on this prototype. Yeah, so Figma as an ultimate source of truth, solving all our problems.
Yeah, I think it's an industry standard. Everyone appreciates it, I think.
No more email attachments.
No more email attachments. The collaboration is good always. In Maze, you also have ways to interact with people. They can leave comments when you're building a scenario or task. They can leave their maybe feedback on what else should be tested, or that they don't want this element included. So the collaboration element is there as well. Everyone appreciates this.
All right, then. So Maze enables to collect qualitative feedback alongside quantitative data. What are the features within the Maze that facilitate this process, like efficient gathering of that data? Yeah. Which features help you doing that?
So during the creation of the whole scenario of the user tests, user research in Maze, you can create it very into an intuitive way, and very easily like step-by-step process. So first you need to do this, and then you need to do another task, and so on. So, and on each step, you can add different elements, and it could be feedback form, it could be rating scale. So, for example, you can ask user for feedback. So users are able to provide qualitative insights and comments during the test session. Or, for example, you can implement and add to your scenario rating scale. So you can also measure, let's say, and take feedback on kind of, let's say, user preferences or satisfaction level, something like that.
You also have like more specialized ways that the results are displayed. I've mentioned the card sorting test that I've done. So for this, you will get results in the typical way that you get or should create the results for card sorting. So you'll get a graph with associations of how many cards land in the same categories. So it does a lot of work for you, right? Typically you'd either use another type of card sorting software. You have to manually put it in an Excel and then count. That definitely helps to aggregate the results, and you don't have to almost spend time, like most of the features are inbuilt. You don't have to spend time on reporting for that long.
Okay, then. And I think that we have the very last question. In the context of AI capabilities integrated into Maze software, what opportunities and challenges do you foresee of leveraging AI-driven tools to enhance testing process?
Well, if we are talking about AI and integration with Maze, first I think the first thing that I need to say is that the Maze, of course, is a great tool, but never replace, for example, traditional methods of, for example, moderated testing, right?
All right.
Unless AI replace us as moderators.
Don't say that.
Yeah. So if we want to think about the future and AI integration with Maze, it's of course the automation. So AI could automate some repeated tasks, could help us in data analysis, and aggregate all of the results of the reports and transform them into some actionable items or decisions. Yeah, I think that's all from my side.
I would say we treat it as another pencil in our pencil case. It's not a replacement, it's an assistant. So aggregating results, yes, they can do it. The algorithms, they can tell you to rephrase certain questions, not to be leading. So it is helpful. It has this like another eye. So typically it can replace, if you're a single UX designer for the company, it can be that second pair of eyes in a way for you. So that's how you should probably treat it. It can probably do some more advanced desk research. So on the results, I think in the future we'll be able to compare, is it a trend? Has this changed over time, right? So do the manual work that you'd have to do it yourself, or maybe compare it with like, I don't know, overall worldwide statistics. Like if people didn't click on the link, typically it's better than 30 other % of people in that region. So maybe those comparisons can be made as well. But I don't think it has it will not have in the next upcoming years the cognitive capabilities. You have to have the human skill, right, to do it. You still have to be human, and we as designers, we have backgrounds in different things. So cognitive knowledge, we have the psychological knowledge. Some of us have background in sociology. So all that knowledge is the human part. So I don't think we're going anywhere anytime soon.
Humans know how to human humans.
Correct.
Ladies and gentlemen, in the last 2 or 3 years, also with Oskar and Hanna, I had the pleasure to work on several projects which were dedicated to fleet managers based in Asia and Africa, sales field representatives selling photovoltaics in North America, people representing ages between 30 to 50, people who had very deep educational background, but also people who have been just graduating schools in, for example, Central or Western Europe. People, digital natives, but also people who remember Commodore 64s. Yes, so in order to build products that can be widely used by different specific groups of users, we consider as a very valuable thing to perform test research. This can help you save a lot of assets, save a lot of money during the development phase, which, according to our manager, Maria Borowy, can $1 spent on design and research can save $10 or euros or pounds or Polish zloty spent on development. So please keep this in mind. And guys, any ending words from your side?
Just go and test. It's easier than it ever was. Just do it.
Yes. Yes. Testing is good. Getting to know your users is good. Building software that is beautiful and useless is not good. So, ladies and gentlemen, thank you all. Have a great day. This was another show coming from Merixstudio. It's time to talk. Please stay tuned for further episodes. Thank you. Have a great day.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. See ya.